Interviews with business owners and veteran executives who share their wisdom and expertise to help you de-stress, free up time, and make more money. Profits of IT. Welcome back to the Profits of IT. I am Jim Punzenberger, your host and the creator of the Managed Prospecting System. You're looking to generate new partners or clients, be sure to check out managedprospectingsystem.com. I'm excited to have Al with me today. Al Presidente of CyberGuard 360. He's been in IT. It sounds like pretty much his whole career. And I am very interested to learn more about, what's made him successful and CyberGuard so successful. So Al, why don't you please take a moment to introduce yourself and tell us a quick bit about yourself in CyberGuard 360.
Oh man, that's going to consume the whole pot. I'll just be as brief as humanly possible. So CyberGuard 360. So I'm married. Jesus, this year we're married 39 years. No, that's true. That's not true. No, we're married 31 years this year. We're together 40 years. Jesus. I just celebrated my birthday Saturday, so depending on when this airs, that may not be true. So that was the 5th that it was. So I've been in IT since really the 80s, long before this gray hair, probably before you were born, Jim.
Well, I was born 40 years ago, so.
Okay, close.
Well, if you're talking 81, that was before I was born.
And I've been in and out of the space, actually always in technology, in and out of the IT services space, from the late 90s until the early 2010s when I got back into the IT services space. Always in technology, though. I'm a serial entrepreneur, so CyberGuard is my 6th business. It's actually the outgrowth of my MSP that I still own, which is Absolute Logic. And Absolute Logic's unique in that it's a petri dish for everything we do in CyberGuard. So any bright ideas that I have about what we should do for CyberGuard, I first do it in Logic to see is it possible, and then B, is it profitable, right? So if I'm not if I could, just because you can do it doesn't mean you should do it, right? There's that old saying. And so we test everything in Logic to see if it's got any value to the customer base, and then if it does, then we bring it onto the CyberGuard platform. And CyberGuard was in fact born from my MSP. There was a need that I identified in our market, and there was no vendor to fill it. And so I just built it for me, frankly. And that first year, we did over $1 million in brand new revenue as a result of it. And all my MSP colleagues are like, "How the hell did you do that?" Uh-huh. I showed them the platform. They said, "I wanted it." I said, "I guess I'm in the channel." And so that is the nature of the birth of CyberGuard.
Cool. So what's something interesting about yourself outside of work? I just heard you said it was your birthday and you just got back from Miami, so it sounds like birthdays are a big deal for you.
Birthdays are probably my absolute favorite holiday, because everybody has one, from the president to the bum on the street.
Yeah.
And so that's something we all share, and we all own our own day. And, depending on the circle of friends and family that you have, everybody pauses their life for a moment to share that with you. However many that everyone is, it doesn't particularly matter. So I absolutely love birthdays. Forget about whether you get gifts or not. It's almost irrelevant at my age. But I love birthdays. So, and as I said to you before, we get away for our birthdays, my wife and I. So
how does one maximize their birthday celebration? It sounds like that's like one of your expertise is maximizing the birthday celebration. Do I have any tips on maximizing your birthday celebration?
My birthday celebration is about a week long. It starts about 3 days before and ends 3 days after. 3 to 4 before, 3 to 4 after is generally what it is. And depending on what day of the week it falls on, because we like to disappear for it. So, like for instance, this week we went to Miami, so we left on Thursday and we got back last night. So it officially ended this morning, and it officially started last Thursday morning. So that's as an example. And I just unplug. I completely unplug from business and everything else, and I immerse myself in the celebration. And then friends come and go out of that. They call in, they join in. I got home to a half a dozen gifts delivered on my front porch. That was a nice thing to come home to, right? You don't expect it.
Mhm.
It's a lot of fun.
It sounds like it. So I guess I have to, my birthday is coming up in January. I'll have to start the celebration. It should be at least 7 days, it sounds like, no minimum. And no maximum number of days to celebrate your birthday.
There you go. The key is to get away though. Right? One of the things that I found, if you do it from home, you get stuck in the honey-do list. And I don't mean that just because, hey, honey, do this, but you always got a million things to do at home. There's just no way around it.
Mhm.
And so we intentionally get the hell out of Dodge. It's just unplug. There's no distractions of home life to infect your birthday celebration.
Got it. So I'll be unplugging and
There
going
you go.
hearing, sounds like. So, shifting to your professional life and the success you've had in your career, do you have any tips for people that might be starting their career or wanting to improve to be more successful themselves? Any keys that you gleaned from your career that others could implement in theirs?
I yes. So I'll give you two things. How's that? One that's easier to identify or work on than the other, right? So, the first thing I would say, and perhaps the most concrete thing I could lend advice to, is invest in the tools that you use to ply your trade. One of the single biggest investments I've made in my MSP is in our tools. Right? We are RMM is Kaseya VSA. Our PSA is ConnectWise. We have a variety of other tools for our stack, but those, for most MSPs, those are the core elements of their stack that run their business.
Hmm.
And I'm very deliberate about those tools, and they're not necessarily the least expensive. But if your primary driver is price, you are stepping over dollars to get to dimes. And what I mean by that is, if you can invest in your tools, money, time, whatever, to build automation around those things that are the typically mundane routine tasks, you can scale without having to scale HR commensurately. So if you think about it, and I've seen a lot of MSPs do this, they choose a tool based on price, but there's not a lot of automation that you can build into that tool. And as a result, they have a certain number of endpoints that they can have under management on a per engineer basis.
Hmm.
And in fact, I hear a lot of MSPs talk about, well, we manage 400 endpoints per engineer or 800, whatever that number is, it doesn't matter. But that number is not really a number that you should be focusing on, because the truth of the matter is, if you can automate out the mundane tasks, you could have 1,000 endpoints an engineer. You can have 1,500, depending on the type of endpoints and type of workflow your customers enjoy, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so the long-term investment in automation of the tools that you choose will not only reap a tremendous amount of profit for you, because the single biggest expense in every business is HR, right?
Right.
But also the ability to satisfy your clients by creating automation that solve problems. So think about a slow desktop. The first thing that you're going to do is you're going to do some cleanup work and some optimization. All of that can be scripted. And you can kick off that script literally through your ticketing system, so that if, depending on what the keywords are, and if you train your users, nobody even has to touch that ticket. And all the automation happens and the ticket closes all on its own. I'm hyper simplifying this, but that investment in your tool set, and more often than not, it's not the cheapest one you're choosing, right? You're choosing a tool set that has the capabilities of automation as opposed to those that don't. So you're going to spend a few more dollars on that. But in the long run, you will reap tremendous benefits, both in terms of profitability as well as client satisfaction. So that's probably the single most usable piece of advice I could give people. The second thing, which is a little more esoteric, if you would, is, if you see a hole in the landscape, and make an effort to see if there's any reason not to do it yourself and create something. Like, I think about CyberGuard for a second. CyberGuard existed because there was a hole in the landscape. I saw an opportunity not to build a channel company, but an opportunity in my customer segment to create a value proposition that my competitors wouldn't have. And so I invested in building this first iteration that would soon become CyberGuard. You don't have to build something quite that big, if you would, but if there's a hole in the landscape, don't be afraid to investigate and validate whether or not A, it's a real hole in the landscape, and B, whether or not it's needed. Because that time you put to it, I go back on the as I said, CyberGuard's my 6th business. Of those businesses, 3 of them, I'm including CyberGuard in this now as well, were purpose built for holes in the vendor landscape. I identified a hole that I needed to fill, and as a result of that, I filled it after I spent the time investigating whether there was validity, meaning that nobody else was solving this problem that I saw. So there was validity that there was a hole in the landscape, and then there was a need that somebody wanted this hole filled. Everybody was doing a manual process or some other bastardizing the way in which they work to fill that. And if I built something to do that, then they, you build it, they will come, kind of thing, but not out of thin air, right? So that's the other thing. If you see something that says, why doesn't somebody do this? You could be that somebody. So just see if you're the somebody.
Got it. So
hopefully that helps.
I guess if you're making it sound really easy.
Oh, it's not.
Any tips on like identifying these gaps, so to speak, that you with the CyberGuard, there was a hole in security and related to email and DNS, and you just filled it. So
I guess part of it is not. It's a mindset, right? I never accept the status quo as the way it should be. Just because someone has to invent the wheel. If you think about it, and I'm not saying CyberGuard's the wheel. That's way too pompous even for me. But if you think about when the wheel was invented, long before even I was born. That's right, long before even I was born. It's not like there weren't already a million people on the planet. Any one of them could have been, but somebody had to invent it. And that's true. That's as true today as it was back then. There's plenty of holes out there. You just, you have to take the blinders off in terms of, we most people who run IT businesses are gearheads. I'm a gearhead, right? We love what we do. We love fixing these things, but we become myopic in our viewpoint. and we don't look like, okay, but why is it doing this? And if you look at the whys, you can quickly identify that, well, it's because of this, and nobody seems to have solved that. And so now, is that worth solving? That becomes, well, is it happening for you? And is it happening for you? Is it happening? And if you see a big enough audience of people who it's happening for,
Uh-huh.
it's like, oh, maybe there's a there. Maybe I should give it a shot. I would say, take off the blinders. Don't have a myopic view. Look at your business. Spend time working on your business and not in your business. There's something we call orange cone time, if you've heard of that before,
Yes, I
right?
have. I know the reference. There's somebody in the industry that has kind of invented it, I guess.
Okay. Um, so I've got a giant one in my office, and I spend more time working on my business than in my business these days. But I didn't get there. I didn't start there. I literally took the orange cone, I put it outside my door, and you know, but for acts of God, do not cross that line. If you and I did that
Yep.
from at home, and I did that in my office. It gives me an opportunity to think about my business and the both the successes and the failures, and where things are falling down, and where we're working too much at something, and why are we and it gives you an opportunity to see those holes in the landscape.
Got it. And so do you like schedule orange cone time? Is that something that you just schedule on your calendar or what?
So yes, early on, I
And
was an
just
I
so
was
that people are wondering what orange cone time is, it's basically just a time where you unplug from everything and just focus on working on your business versus working in your business, correct? That's what you're referring to?
That's correct, and then you literally buy an orange cone. So I've got an orange cone that you've seen in the street, right? So you can get them
Yeah.
on Uline for like $20. They're you know they're not a lot of money, but I literally have an orange cone. I'm looking at it across my desk over there, that I put outside of my door, and that's a warning to everybody. Like, this is the do not disturb, for fear of death. Um, and it gives me an opportunity to unplug from all of the chaos that owning an IT service business is, and just really spend time investing in the business, thinking about your customers and your employees, and what you're doing. And I started this as a one man band, in the early '90s. Um, and and now, back then, because you're an owner operator, right? If you don't work in your business, you don't eat,
Right.
right? Because as an early stage, IT company, as an owner operator,
Yep.
you eat what you kill.
Right.
And so my orange cone time started at 4 a.m. I just got up earlier and earlier and earlier till I had enough time, which is why my orange cone time started at 4 a.m. And I did that at the beginning. I did that 2 days a week. That wasn't enough. And then I took Saturday morning and included that in that time. And because I needed more time to really start to, and that's actually how, I launched one of my businesses and it was in technology. It wasn't IT services. That was in the late '90s. One of those orange cone days, I was like, wow, we should do this. This makes perfect sense. Why aren't we doing this? So, anyway,
So basically you block out the time and you just work on your business.
that's it. You don't respond to tickets. You don't reply to messages. I don't open my email. So during my orange cone time, there are literally no distractions. My emails are not allowed to be open. My PSA is not allowed to be open. My phone is not on. It's unplugged. My desk phone and my cell phone are off. There's nothing that goes on. But throw on the Sonos, and there's some background music that's playing so that it sort of drowns out the din of of the office and or the house or whatever the case may be. And you can't see it, but I've got stacks of these little notebooks. You can kind of see that, right? So I've got
Yep.
stacks of them.
Yep.
And each one is a different thing that I'm working on. And I take notes, and I'm like, okay, I got to do this. I have to think about that, and then I put together a to-do list at the end of that, and I'm like, all right, now these are the things I've got to go and get more information on because they actually require like talking to somebody, which you can't do at 4 a.m. So
That wouldn't be part of talking to other people. Isn't part of Orange Cone time.
correct. So
Got it. Cool. So, any other thoughts regarding this?
honestly, you've got to in any of this, it has to be it's a cultural change, right? I mean, it's like everything else. If you're not fully invested in this, which by definition changes your habits and your culture, it's really you're gonna get a lot of false starts, which in the long run, you know, we internalize and look at that this didn't work, but I don't think we ever I think most people don't take it far enough. They don't really extend it to the last possible. All right, I've exhausted this possibility. They tend to exhaust
Uh-huh.
their time before they exhaust their options.
Got it. So, final thoughts?
um I would say keep at it. There's light at the end of that tunnel. You don't have to be working in the business all the time.
And do you have any asks for the audience? Any type of people that should know about CyberGuard 360? Uh,
um, so we are. So I think my obviously I think we're the best platform out there for what we do. We're one of the only platforms that's fully integrated. So we
so what
we
do you do?
satisfy. I was just going to say. So we are. So we're. I like to say that we're the client-facing side of the cyber stack. So we do dark web monitoring and search, risk assessments. We have almost 100 NIST-based policies and procedures, simulated phishing, security awareness training, which we include in our partner fee unlimited, so you can give that to as many people as you want. Automated pen test, vulnerability assessment. These are all the things that go into defining the risk posture of an organization. And one of the we're white labeled end to end, but one of the nice things is we're fully automated. So if you deploy this for your clients and they're using the platform and you're helping them, but we automate all the reporting and all of those other things that come out of it. So there's not a lot of work for the MSP to do to provide the value of the platform to their clients because we automate a lot of it.
So it's a low amount of time required on the MSP's part to provide lots of value
Oh,
to their clients or really to help them to
oh
succeed.
yeah. So as in my MSP, my account manager manages the platform and the client relationship, not the engineer. There's almost no engineer time used in the management of this platform. When I say almost no, that's because the only engineering time actually used is we integrate with Azure AD. So that integration requires an engineer to do. After that, it's just an account manager, which in most markets is half the price of an engineer. So which that matters.
So if somebody would like to learn more about CyberGuard 360, how would they go about doing that, or how would
Well,
they contact you? What should
yeah,
they do?
they could contact me directly, Alper at cyberguard360.com. Check out our website, cyberguard360.com. We have a $1 kick the tires trial, so you can try us out for $1 for 30 days, a little more than 30 days, but 30 days, and see what it's like. You go through an onboarding. We show you what we can do. Actually, there are two onboarding calls. So the first one shows the platform. It's like drinking from a fire hose. We just do a ton of stuff. And then the second one, we actually help you onboard somebody. Most MSPs onboard their own company to see that. So you can see what it's like and what the experience is to onboard a customer and how easy it is.
Got it. Well, thank you for your time here today and sharing. and I think I'm gonna start implementing orange cone time myself.
There you go. Awesome.
Well, until next time on the Profits of IT, I am Jim Punzenberger, your host and the creator of the Managed Prospecting System. Looking to generate new clients or partners, be sure to check out managedprospectingsystem.com.
Thank you for tuning in to the Profits of IT. Please smash that like button, subscribe, and share.